بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Hadith number 15. This is about tests and trials and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala especially tests believers. So the title is امتحان و آزمایش مؤمنان, about trial and examination of the believers. So Imam Khomeini quotes through his own chain of narrators from Sheikh Kulayni rahmatullah alayhi, the compiler of Al-Kafi, and from Ali ibn Ibrahim and Abi and Ibn Mahbub and Suma'a and Abi Abdullah alayhi salam, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. قال إن في كتاب علي عليه السلام. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that it is in the book of saints that Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam compiled, or it is attributed to him by Ahlul Bayt. إن أشد الناس بلاء النبيون ثم الوصيون ثم الأمثل فالأمثل. The greatest people in bala. Bala can mean test, can mean also calamity. But here we can, take it in the sense of test. From the whole population of the world and throughout the generations. So imagine if we not only look at people of the world today, if you look at the people of the world throughout the ages, all over the world, and then try to see who had the greatest tests, the most difficult ones, the most advanced ones, because for a test, to be greatest means to be most advanced, and to be most advanced means to be most difficult. For example, if you have a test in mathematics, in philosophy, so the more advanced is the level, the more difficult would be for a person to answer. If it is at primary level, everyone can answer. If it is intermediate level, some can answer. If it is advanced, again, very few. So the test, when it goes higher and higher, it becomes more and more difficult. So among all people of the world, in all generations, the people who had the greatest tests or calamities were the prophets and Nabiyun. And it is interesting that even among the prophets themselves, our prophet, for example, had greatest suffering. There is hadith, ما أوذي نبي مثل ما أوذيت. No prophet was annoyed like me. Or for example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, in order to reach the level of imamah after he was a nabi and he was a rasul, then in order to become imam, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ ابْتَلَى, Allah tested him with different words, different ways. فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ, and he completed, he passed all the tests. So even among the prophets, those who are highest, they have the greatest test. So, إِنَّ أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ بَلَاءً النَّبِيُّونَ ثُمَّ الْوَصِيُّونَ, then successors to the prophets. Sometimes successors to the prophets were themselves prophets. Sometimes successors to prophets were not prophets. For example, successor to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is Amir al-Mu'minin, he's not a prophet. Successor to Jesus seems to be Peter, he was not also a prophet. Successor to Musa alayhi salam was Harun, although he died before Musa died, but he was a prophet. So sometimes successors are both, the one who was the prophet and the successor, both are prophets. In the case of Dawood and Sulaiman, both are prophets. ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلُ فَالْأَمْثَلُ. So first the prophets, then their successors, then those who are higher and higher. Amthal means afdal, higher. Or those who resemble them the most. So basically it's like a hierarchy. If you are higher in your rank and degree in this hierarchy, then your exams would be more difficult and your tests would be more difficult and your calamities and suffering would be more difficult. وَإِنَّمَا يُبْتَلَى الْمُؤْمِنُ عَلَى قَدْرِ أَعْمَالِهِ الْحَسَنَةِ. And mu'min would be tested or would suffer, would be afflicted with calamities proportionate to their good deeds. على قدر أعماله الحسنة. In what sense? Because some people think that whoever has suffering, it's because he's a sinner, he's a bad person. Some people, we read in the Bible that they thought that Prophet Ayub suffered because he had done mistakes and sins. But this is not the case. As I have explained in the lecture Suffering and Unity in Rome, sometimes you suffer because you have committed sin and this is your compensation. But sometimes you suffer not because you have sinned, because you are actually a very good person. So you should not generalize. This hadith says a believer is tested or suffers proportionate to his righteous deeds, good deeds. فَمَنْ صَحَّ دِينُهُ وَحَسُنَ عَمَلُهُ اشْتَدَّ بَلَاؤُهُ. The one whose faith is correct, so he has sound aqa'id. وَحَسُنَ عَمَلُهُ, his action is also good. اشْتَدَّ بَلَاؤُهُ, his test or his calamity would be stronger. وَذَلِكَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى لَمْ يَجْعَلِ الدُّنْيَا ثَوَابًا لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا عُقُوبَةً لِكَافِرٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made dunya the reward of mu'min. So mu'min should not expect reward in dunya. Dunya is not good enough and large enough to be the world of reward for mu'min. So in dunya, you may suffer because this is not the place you see the reward. Don't think you are bad or Allah has forgotten you. On the other hand, dunya is not a place for punishment of kuffar. Punishment is in the hereafter, because in dunya there is not much to be punished, and also people even sometimes after the last moment in their life in dunya they do mischief. So dunya is not a place for reward for good people. It's not a place of punishment for bad people. Because the real reward, the real punishment cannot be done in dunya. وَمَنْ سَخُفَ دِينُهُ وَضَعُفَ عَقْلُهُ قَلَّ بَلَاؤُهُ. But the one whose faith is not well educated, is weak, so his aqaid has problem. وَضَعُفَ عَقْلُهُ, his intelligence, his intellectual capacity also is weak. Such people, قَلَّ بَلَاؤُهُ, their tests or their calamities are little. وَإِنَّ الْبَلَاءَ أَسْرَعُ إِلَى الْمُؤْمِنِ التَّقِيِّ مِنَ الْمَطَرِ إِلَى قَرَارِ الْأَرْضِ. Calamity goes to a mu'min who is taqi, who is pure and pious, faster than rain going to a place on the earth where water remains. You know, when rain comes, it starts flowing on the ground, but it goes towards a place which is the lowest place in height. So from mountains comes and flows all the way, reaches a place that then is the lowest place. Over there, water remains, doesn't go any further. That is where it settles. Qarar means to settle. So, bala, like rain, can come, and when it reaches moment, it stays with mu'min. So mu'mineen are not supposed to expect to have no problems. Indeed, mu'mineen are supposed to have greater tasks, greater responsibilities, and at the same time, greater tests and suffering. Because in this school of thought and in this school of training that we have in Islam, when you go higher in your understanding and in your commitment, your tasks become more, your challenges become greater, and maybe the enmity that you receive from bad people also becomes more, but also the love that you receive from good people also, inshallah, will increase. So, in this chapter, because of this hadith, we are going to talk about the concept of examining and trying and testing. The first chapter is about the meaning of test and the result of test. And what does it mean that we say Allah is testing? I say only one point, introductory point, and leave it for another session because today we have to finish up 6, inshallah. The idea of test in dunya is normally in order to discover who has studied and learned, who has not studied and has not learned. Suppose today at 10 a.m. you had maths exam in the school or university. What was the purpose of maths exam? The purpose was to have an objective way of marking people based on what they have learned. We want to see how much every person has learned. And the exam helps us to identify that. Does exam teach them anything about maths? No. Does exam improve their level of understanding math? No. Does exam itself make them better in math? No. So this type of exam is different from what we have in religion. So we have to remember. When Allah tests us, these tests are done when we are dealing with subjects and tasks and obligations that proper answer to those tests and tasks raises your position. It's not just to find out. It's actually to give opportunity to people to prove themselves, to rise. And some people, may God forbid, go down. But this all happens at the time of the test. So test is not just for discovering. Test is to put people in real life scenarios, and they should find the proper answer and give the proper answer. It's not a theory test. So this is very important. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need to test us. If it was just for discovering, He knows our situation. He knows even from eternity, from azaliyah, what decisions we are going to make, what types of actions or traits of character we are going to have, what type of people we become. He doesn't need to test us so that He knows. He tests us because it is through tests that we are trained and we can upgrade. Inshallah, we continue this discussion in the next session. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.